Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aligning with Purpose, a podcast where we explore themes of finding your true purpose, from quitting corporate, moving cities, practicing holistic health, and more. Join me as we discover our purposes together. My name is Julie Yoshinaga, and I'm so happy you're here. Today, I'll be talking about going back to the hospitality industry, specifically working at a restaurant after quitting corporate. We'll talk in depth about how I've had to redefine what success looks like to me, working through ego, and how I feel about my new life. Let's get started. As always, I'll be starting with the Beauty and Humanity segment, where I'll share a moment from my week that made me smile or that I found joy in. I hope this segment reminds us to find the joy in our lives and to be present with the life around us. So this week, nothing specifically happened, but that's okay. I feel like the point of this segment is for us to find moments in the small things, and not every week you're going to find a grand gesture in the things that you're seeing or the things that you experience. So finding the small moments in our day-to-day is really the point of this segment. And when I reflect back on this week, I had a very normal week where I went to the restaurant that I work at, and something that I noticed is all the regulars coming in. A lot of these regulars come in and they dine in at the bar, and sometimes they're doing their own thing where they want to read a book. And for those guests, I don't tend to bother them too much, but there are other guests that come in and you can tell that they are looking to have a human connection. So I feel like it is my duty as their server to make sure that they feel at home and that they're having a really enjoyable experience at the restaurant. These moments have showed me that there's a lot of beauty in these small moments. These people were virtually strangers when I first met them, and now I've gotten to know where they work, their hobbies, their life story, and a lot of it is information that I would never know about someone unless we had that conversation. Even though these aren't grand things, I look back and I'm extremely grateful that I opened the door to have these conversations, because now I feel this human connection with them. There's a lot of beauty in finding these moments to connect with someone. The interactions that I have with my guests remind me that they're human and they have a full life story that they've lived through or that they're living right now. And same goes for the people that surround us in the subway, on the street, and they have a full life story that they're living, and that's ahead of them. It's humanizing to be able to connect with someone and just have a very simple conversation. I'm a huge advocate in having small talk, and I know people hate small talk, but I really do think that small talk really brings beautiful moments, and you get to know someone a little bit more than you would have otherwise. So I challenge you this week to reconnect with someone that you haven't talked to in a long time, or a stranger that you don't know, and to just have a simple conversation, because it might surprise you. And this is also a good segue for the topic of this week's episode. It's about going back to the hospitality industry. I went back to the restaurant industry after quitting corporate, and I'm excited to talk about this because I think it's important for me to be candid about these things. I'm noticing from the internet that there are people who are quitting their corporate jobs, trying to figure out what this next step looks like, and I'm also living that. And I want to share this experience because maybe it's something that you want to do, or maybe it's something that you just are curious to know about. I'm here to be very candid and open about it. I want to start off by being extremely honest and candid and share that quitting your corporate job doesn't solve all your problems. And I know that's very obvious. You need an income to survive, and quitting doesn't magically solve all your problems and allow you to get to the point where you want to be. But it definitely was a step in the right direction. Quitting takes a lot of courage, and quitting also takes a lot of reflection and to understand what you want to do with your life and where you want to see it go. The reality is, after you quit, it's a grind after that. So you have to be really prepared to understand all the things that are going to come so you can figure out how you can live your dream life and build that. I had to ask myself 4 questions when I quit, and they were: what life do I want to build? What do I truly want to accomplish in life? What do I want to experience? And how am I going to sustain myself? These questions were only 4 of many that I asked myself, but it was important to build a framework around these questions so I had more clarity in the things that I wanted out of my life. The world can really be your oyster, but you have to let it be. You have to let go of being on autopilot and be okay with grinding after you quit and figuring out what life could look like. If you know that life has more purpose and you want more out of life, find out what you can do to live your dream life, but that will come with a cost. You might have to work harder. For me, these are how I answered these questions that I had. What life do I want to build? I wanted to build a life that had more purpose. What's my purpose? Well, that's something I'm still figuring out, but I have to try in order to figure that out. And I've learned that a good indicator to know how you know you're going towards your purpose is to see if you actually feel joy in the things that you're doing. If you feel joy in the things that you're doing and if you feel energized, that means that you're working towards your purpose. And if you feel drained from something and if you don't feel that spark and if you feel like you're losing your life force from doing something, for example, for me, it's my job, then it's an indicator that it's not aligned with who you truly are. So what are you going to do to change that? The second question, what do I want to accomplish in life? I wanted to use this time to really learn more about myself. I wanted to learn how to make an impact in the health and wellness space. Going through my own health journey and how I've been affected by our American healthcare system, I noticed that there's toxins in everything that we use. It could be the foods that we eat, it could be the products that we use, like our shampoos, detergents, you name it. There's pretty much toxins in everything that we use. I really wanted to make a difference in this space so people have the resources to make better decisions for themselves. I want to bring more education to people so they are aware of what they're putting into their body and what to use or not use. I'm still figuring that out for myself because this world is huge and there's so many things that are obviously not shown to us, and it's going to be a lifelong journey. So my purpose shifted, and I'm excited to learn more about where it's going to take me. 3, what do I want to experience in life? That is a big question because I want to experience everything. I think there's so much that life has to offer, and I also wanted to experience really working hard for myself, and that's what this chapter is all about, to grind, figure out how I can be the most useful and purposeful, because I know that's going to bring me joy. And lastly, how am I going to sustain myself? In the last episode, I talked about doing freelancing and also going back to the hospitality industry. This stage of my life is meant to be fully experimental, and for me to figure out what I like about freelancing and really figure out what skills I want to build so I can continue to live a more fulfilled life. I also went back to the restaurant industry because while I was figuring out my freelancing, this was going to be a more stable job that I could rely on, and I'm extremely grateful for it. It's taught me a lot that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. And one of the things that I've learned going back into the restaurant industry is that a dollar is a dollar. We've been conditioned to call our corporate jobs our real jobs, and I notice it in the way we speak about our work. Even in college, when we talk about finding our job, it's always, oh, when I find my real job, or when I land my real job, or when we're working intermittently at a restaurant or bartending or whatever it is, and you're looking to find a corporate job, it's often, oh yeah, I'm here until I find my real job. I want to shine a light on this because a corporate job isn't above any other job. A job is a job at the end of the day, and a dollar is a dollar at the end of the day. It's still a means for us to make money and for us to pay our bills. We should never let society determine how you see success, and we should never stomp on the people who are working their real jobs, which is in restaurants, which is in retail, which is in blue-collar jobs. A corporate job is just not above any other job, and success is meant to be defined by you and no one else. To be completely honest, I had to really work through the things that I just mentioned and work through the ego of knowing that a job is a job and this was going to be the right step for me ultimately. I went back to working at a restaurant, and now I work at a family-owned restaurant in Manhattan, and I am happier than ever. I get to live here and I get to experience everything that New York has to offer while I get to pursue my dreams and create something for myself. I get to serve tables 4 days a week, and to be completely honest, I enjoy this so much more than what I was doing at a corporate job where I was working behind a desk and behind a screen all day. Now I'm walking around the restaurant, multitasking, and it feels so much more stimulating. And I'm extremely grateful that I have a job that I enjoy going to every day. And I'll be completely honest, when I first started, it took a lot of time for me to acclimate into going back into the restaurant industry. It's a different type of fatigue and it's a lot of physical labor. So the first month, I was struggling a little bit. I was constantly tired and I had to walk around, move, carry heavy items, and it was really draining. Now I've gotten into the flow of it and I'm not drained anymore. But in that month, I realized that corporate suddenly felt like the easy way out. There were many days where I thought I made the wrong decision, but I still worked through it. And now that I'm in a good place and a good flow, I know that I'm doing the right thing for myself. But it did take a long time to work through all those small things. And sometimes you just have to trust yourself that you're doing the right thing. All I was doing in corporate was clocking in, working, clocking out, and then doing that every single week. And even though it was toxic, at the end of the day, I wasn't saving anyone's lives. And I felt like my corporate job was so unserious. Even though I can't say that I'm doing the same with my restaurant job where I'm saving lives, I felt like I was able to see the small impact that I was making on a day-to-day basis, and I get to see the genuine happiness on a customer's face, or we get to have conversations that make a big impact on my life, and how meaningful that was to me rather than something I was doing behind a computer screen to make more money for a billion-dollar company. Finding your own path is so hard and it's a grind, but you have to get serious about what you want and focus on deeper reflection to find yourself. Ultimately, serving is not my long term goal, and I don't want to be trading time for money as I did in my corporate job. But for now, I'm extremely happy here. I have met so many great people. I work with amazing colleagues. I'm in a healthy work environment and I've had so many meaningful interactions. And all of this is really healing and it's really filling my cup more than it has in the last 7 years while I was in corporate. Overall, I'm just extremely happy here and I can't wait for how this chapter is going to unfold with everything that I'll be working towards. At the end of the day, I understand that everyone has a very different life path, and this is the one that I took. I also see why people stay in corporate jobs because it is a steady paycheck and there is a sense of stability, and healthcare can be extremely expensive, and that's something that I'm really realizing after leaving corporate. So, this is not a knock on folks who are working for corporate, but to really share my story and experiences with it. It's not to question the people who are working for corporate, but to question the system that is corporate. Because I think there's a lot of reflection that we could do on the system that we operate within. Leaving corporate and going back into the hospitality industry taught me that our identity is more than our jobs. Who are you outside of your job? What makes you happy? And have you truly thought about that question? Who are you and what makes you you? Don't reduce your worth to the company that you work for or the title that you have, and don't reduce others to that either. But look within first because the judgment that you cast on others is often a reflection of yourself. I really had to take a hard look at what my judgments were and how that was reflecting off on others. This chapter is really teaching me that we are way more than our jobs and we should strive to figure out who we are so we have a bigger identity than the jobs that we hold. The final big thing that I learned from this chapter is that you can pivot as many times as you want, and that's okay. You think you figured out life one year, and the next year you're back to the drawing board. And I felt that so many times with my corporate jobs too. I thought I found my dream job, and then after a couple years, it wasn't my dream job anymore. And then I would take on another one. And then by the end of those years, I learned that it wasn't my dream job again. So I was trying to figure out what my next step was. And just know that there's so many options out there for you. You don't have to feel like you have to have everything figured out right now and then, because life is about that journey, and your passions, your purpose, they might all start to shift a little bit, and that's okay. You just have to work with it and know that that's just part of life. Learn to flow with it and accept it, because all the tools and lessons that you gained from your previous chapters, they don't go to waste. They're just part of your cloth now. So you'll use that to continue to achieve more out of your own life that you want to. And if you had to change the direction that you're going in, just know that that's not a failure. That's actually a sign of success, because you're listening to what your wants are, and you're not operating from a place of doing it because you feel like you have to, and you're truly trying to figure out what you want. I know that putting aside your ego to do the hard thing is never easy. And even for myself, going back to the restaurant industry, I did feel a little bit of shame at first, but I also was realizing that that was really messed up that I was feeling that way, because it is a job at the end of the day. It's just all in our head. It's our perception. And I've really worked through that, and I'm so proud of what I'm doing. I'm proud of the people I get to work with, and I'm finding so much meaning with what I'm doing right now. So I hope this helps, and know that I'm proud of you for figuring out your purposes with me, because it's not easy, and doing the hard thing isn't easy, but it will be full of rewards. And let's find those rewards together. Thank you so much for spending time with me on Aligning with Purpose. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast so you never miss an episode. And be sure to connect with me on Instagram and TikTok at aligningwithpurpose.pod and at Julioshi, JULIYOSHI. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please leave me a rating and review. Your support truly means the world, and catch you at the next episode.